so here's the video for the Band 5 candidate, and one of the things you'll notice is that as far as fluency goes, there's going to be a lot less hesitation here. The speed is still a little bit slow, but we're not going to get that hesitation that comes before almost every word. So here's our introduction.
Hello, my name is Christopher. What's your full name, please?
My full name is Xiang Yishi. That's my Chinese name.
Mm-hmm. And what can I call you?
Just call me Xiang.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Xiang. Can I check your ID and passport, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you, that's fine.
Okay, and our first topic is...
In the first part, I'd like to ask you some general questions about yourself. Let's talk about your work or school. Are you a student or do you work?
I'm not working now, but after I'm graduated from the university. I worked for a long period, about 1 year.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we've got longer sentences, more complex sentences. There's still plenty of mistakes. There's still some repetition, some hesitation, but much less than what we saw in the Band 4 video. And here, we still see some problems with tenses. So after I graduate instead of after I graduated. And here we have the auxiliary verb plus the main verb. But the message is clear and the sentences are getting to be a little bit more complex now.
Graduated from the university. I worked for a long period, about 1 year.
Mm-hmm. And how did you travel to work?
I often took MRT.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm I was in an emergency case,
Mm-hmm.
I usually took taxi.
Okay, let's see here. So we have some problems with articles here. It should be the MRT, and this candidate is going to make repeated mistakes with the same article, the. She often leaves out the. And she uses the word emergency, which is quite good, but the collocation doesn't work. She says, I was in an emergency case. So you can say in case of emergency or when I had an emergency. A couple of words are also slightly mispronounced. Okay, here's the next question.
And what training did you need for your job?
In fact, there is no a very well designed system in this field. My job is dental assistant, but everyone can be a dental assistant, I think.
This candidate actually varies the pace of her speaking quite well. She doesn't talk at the same speed the whole time. Sometimes her speech is a little bit slow, but she does vary the pace. And actually her intonation and general pronunciation is not bad. Although there are some words that she does mispronounce.
Okay.
Ink.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so are there any other jobs you would like to do in the future?
I want to be a manager or interior designer.
Now here her answer is quite short and the examiner doesn't prompt her to expand her answer. He doesn't say why. I'm not sure why he doesn't do that.
Okay. Now I'd like to discuss sport. Which sports are you good at?
If dancing is a kind of sport, I'm really good at dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we see here on the word really, there was a little bit of stress.
Dancing.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay, and again here, he doesn't ask her to expand on her answer again.
which sport do you think is the most dangerous?
In my opinion, I think car racing is the most dangerous.
Alright, here's something I have to mention because I hear this so often. People saying, in my opinion, I think. These two phrases have the same meaning. If something is your opinion, that is what you think. There's no need to put in my opinion and then I think together. You're just saying the same thing twice.
Sport,
Mm-hmm.
because the driver always in a very high speed state. If there is an accident, that would be very serious.
Okay, here we see some stress in the word very again. There's some problems here with the high-speed state. She mispronounced state, and in this phrase, in a very high speed. The driver always in a high speed. Yeah, the preposition in doesn't really go with the word speed. With speed, people usually use the preposition at. So the driver will be at a high speed. Or will be, even better, will be driving at a high speed.
There is an accident, that would be very serious.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And which famous sports person would you like to meet?
Actually, I don't pay much attention to those players. But if I have to say some special person, I think it's David Beckham.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to know how handsome he is in the reality.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as far as grammar goes, our answer was actually pretty good for this level, we should say. There were no complex structures, but as far as grammar goes, there weren't really many mistakes. The only mistakes really is again with the article. So how handsome he is in reality. Reality doesn't take the article the.
How handsome he is in the reality.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's move on to clothes and fashion. What kind of clothes do you feel comfortable in?
I feel comfortable in slacks or sportswear or even pajamas.
All right. So here the candidate uses 3 words: slacks, which I'm really impressed with, and sportswear, pajamas, vocabulary specific to the topic. So that's pretty good, especially the slacks. That's a good word to use.
Mm-hmm.
Because dressing this way make me feel relaxed.
Okay.
All right. So we notice some hesitation. Like for example, here she was thinking about the word relaxed, and so that's why we hear So sometimes when she's thinking of what to say, the word pops up.
Relaxed.
Okay. And are brand names important to you?
No. But I think some really good brand that costs.
See here, I think she was trying to say high end, but she just couldn't think of the word. So instead she went for a really good brand. So she paraphrased, and it's not bad, except, well, this should be pluralized here, brands, and then this should not have the S there, cost.
Its cost is very high, but their quality would be better than other brands, I think. But I think the most important thing is the quality and the style that counts.
Well, so here we have this phrase that counts, so I think that's pretty good. The quality and the style, those are the things that are important to her. Those are the things that count, so that's pretty good. although it's quality and style, so this should be count, not counts, but still not bad. Let's see here. Okay, so here she uses would. But would be used for hypothetical situations that are not real. So in this case, she's talking about a real situation. She's talking about, well, high-end goods or brand name goods. So this should be will, not would. Let's go on to the next question.
Buy new clothes?
Yes and no. It depends on how much spare money I have.
Okay, so that last answer was a little bit short. And the examiner didn't really ask her to expand on it. Okay, well, she did use the phrase spare money, which is not bad. But there are some grammar problems here. Like, for example, it depends on. And again, we just have the subject, verb, object sentence. So to get a 6 for grammar, you've got to be using more complex sentences. Okay, let's go on to...
Yes and no. It depends on how...
Let's move on to part 2. Alright, so our topic is...
Okay, let's move on to part 2.
Let's skip ahead to the topic.
Okay, so here's your pen, here's your paper, and here's your topic. I'd like you to describe an unhealthy habit you have.
Thank you.
Now, this candidate is a... What was she? A dental assistant? I forgot exactly what her job was. Something to do with dentistry. And in part 2, she uses the vocabulary that she knows from her job, that the vocabulary related to her job. She uses this vocabulary pretty well to talk about this topic.
Alright, that's 1 minute. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay. I have a very terrible...
Alright, so here we see some good stress. It's not really sustained, but from time to time she does use stress and intonation quite well.
Unhealthy habit that is, I grind my teeth in sleep almost every night. Especially I'm in a very stressed condition.
Okay, so here's an attempt at a more complex sentence, but it's got some problems here. Like, for example, here it should be especially when I'm very stressed, not very stressed condition. And then we've got some mispronunciation there again. But I mean, grind is a pretty good word to be using in the IELTS test. And of course she knows this because of her background. Oops. Alright.
In a very stressed condition. My close friend and my family all know about it. Because they all sleep with me.
This is perhaps not really what you want to be saying, or, well, hopefully not.
And at first time they hear the sound I grind my teeth.
Alright, so hear this at first time. So the first time they should be heard the sound of me grinding my teeth. And this should be the past tense. Not using the past tense in part 2 is such a big problem. When candidates talk about past experiences but they use the present tense,
they feel very strange because they never hear about that. And and if you have this habit, you must deal with it quickly, because this habit will abridge.
Okay, so here she used Where is it now? Okay, so here, if you have this habit, so this is a pretty good conditional clause that she uses here, but the grammar isn't perfect. And she throws in the word abrasion there, which is a pretty uncommon word to be using, but unfortunately she uses it incorrectly.
And if you have this habit, you must deal with it quickly, because this habit will abrasion your enamel, and it's make you very sensitive to the temperature, like hot, cold, and some sweet. So
Okay, so we see some vocabulary related to dentistry being used here. There's nothing wrong with that. If you know the words, use it.
I asked for my dentist to make a thing. It called night guard, and let me wear on my teeth, and it can help lessen this kind of syndrome, and prevent your teeth from abrasion.
Okay, so here when she talks about the night guard, I don't know what she wanted to say here. Dentist to make a thing. I'm not sure what the thing is, because I'm not really sure what a night guard is. I'm assuming it's something you put in your mouth to prevent you from grinding your teeth. So she explains what it is, and the explanation is easy to understand, although there are some problems. Let me wear on my teeth. So it's something I'm not sure you can actually wear things on your teeth. So it's something you put maybe between your teeth, on your teeth. I'm not sure if it's between or on, because I don't really know what this looks like. Let me wear it. Wear it on my teeth. That still sounds odd. Okay, so you put it on your teeth. That's what I was saying. And syndrome is pretty good. But then again, here the word abrasion, prevent your teeth from being abrased. Prevent your teeth from getting abrased might be a better way of phrasing this, but it's easy to understand what she means.
And prevent your teeth from abrasion.
Now, she didn't speak for very long. It's quite short. Her part 2 turn came in at about 1 minute, and the examiner didn't ask her to expand on any of the points that she made. So to get a 6 for fluency and coherence, you need to be able to speak at length, and speaking for 1 minute is not speaking at length. Let's look at the follow-up questions.
Okay, do you think it will get more serious?
If I wear my night guard every day, I think it won't be serious.
Okay, so there was a lot of hesitation there to answer a fairly simple question. Okay, here we get to part 3.
Okay, let's move on to part 3. You've been talking about an unhealthy activity, and I'd like to ask you 1 or 2 more questions related to this. So let's consider, first of all, health.
Alright, so here's our first topic, health.
Okay.
Okay, could you please comment on how much healthcare support your government provides?
Now, the examiner is not really making an attempt to paraphrase this question. It's not really trying to use simpler language for this candidate, who is a lower level candidate. He could have made the question a little easier by using easier vocabulary, or made the question easier to understand at least.
Our government provides a lot of healthcare systems, but I'm not the expert, so I just can mention about the most famous one.
Okay. So here I can just mention, we don't need the about, I can just mention the most famous one.
That's health health insurance. Because everyone has that insurance, so we can go to see a doctor very quickly and conveniently.
Okay, and
Okay, there's nothing wrong with the answer. It's a bit short, she didn't really expand much on it. And she didn't really use a whole lot of vocabulary related to health insurance. Okay, here comes a comparison question.
how healthy are people today compared to the past?
In terms of the medical care, I think modern people is healthier than in the past. But in terms of the life,
Alright, let's just go back to this. Because she talks about, in terms of medical care, modern people are healthier than those in the past. Because if you are comparing people, then what you're comparing them to should also be people. You can't compare people to health. You can't compare people to a time period. So if you have modern people here, you should have people from the past here. So modern people are healthier than those in the past, or modern people are healthier than people in the past. She doesn't really support her statement, though. She doesn't say why she thinks this is true. Some people might think we are leading less healthy lives
in the past. But in terms of the lifestyle, I think people in the past is more healthier than modern people because they don't have so much pressure.
Alright, so here she does compare people with people, not people with a time period. And she just gives a reason.
So much pressure.
Okay, let's talk about medicine. Could you compare the benefits of Western medicine to natural medicine?
I think Western medicine is, in terms of the effect, I think Western medicine is more.
Okay, so she's using this in terms of phrase again. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's not overused.
Prompt, and it can help you relieve your pain very quickly.
Okay, let's just go back to this word prompt here. Western medicine is more prompt. I think the word she's looking for. So I think what she's trying to say here is that the medicine is fast acting, not prompt.
It can help you relieve your pain very quickly.
Alright, here's a language point I need to bring up. In English, we usually wouldn't say that something helps you do something if you don't really play a part in doing the action. So for example here, the medicine is what is causing your symptoms to be relieved, not you. So you're not helping. And so the medicine doesn't help you. The medicine can help relieve the pain, but it doesn't help you relieve the pain because you don't really play a part in relieving the pain. So it's a little bit different from how it's said in Chinese, but just keep that in mind. Just be careful with when you use help in your answer, especially if it's like help you to do something.
You relieve your pain very quickly. But the traditional medicine is more healthy.
Okay, so we've had two instances now where she pronounced medicine as Madison. And here we have more healthy instead of healthier. Although I suppose some people do say more healthy, but the right way to say it would be healthier.
It's not harmful to your body.
Okay, and how dependent do you think we are on medicine these days?
Excuse me?
Okay, I think it was the word dependent. The examiner should probably have used another word. But as we see here, he uses the same word again.
Dependent do you think we are on medicine these days?
Oh, I think modern people are very dependent on the medicine because everyone.
Well, good on her. She got it after the question was repeated. But usually, if you say something like, where is it now? If you say, I can't find it. Here we go. So, if you say, in part 3 of the test, if you say, excuse me, then the examiner shouldn't be using exactly the same words to rephrase the question, or to phrase the question, because that's not a rephrase. They should be using different words, because if you say, excuse me, that means you didn't understand the question. So they should be using other words the second time around. Okay, so we have a problem with the is here with people. Now here she uses the specific article the again, but she's not talking about any specific kind of medicine, so it should just be medicine, not the medicine.
Some dependent on the medicine because everyone has his own medicine in their home, like some painkiller or some medicine cures insomnia, I think.
All right. Here we have the word insomnia, which I thought was pretty good. Just if you're going to be using an indefinite pronoun like everyone, then it's better to use their. So everyone has their own medicine in their home. Here she used the their home, but here she used his own medicine. Alright, let's go back to the response. So we have painkiller, which I thought was pretty good, and then as I mentioned, insomnia, which was also quite good.
Insomnia, I think, because everyone has its own sickness.
Okay, this time she used everyone with its. Okay, so she seems to have a little bit of problem with using everyone with the correct pronoun.
Sickness, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and would you agree that health is more important than wealth?
Absolutely, because if you have money but you don't have healthy body to enjoy it, and the money just meaningless. And if you have a healthy body, you can earn a great deal of money.
Okay, thank you. That is the end of the speaking test.
Thank you.
This last response is actually typical of the whole response. The speech was a little bit too slow to get a 6, and we saw too much hesitation in her answer, even when she was trying to make a fairly basic point. The grammar is quite well controlled for errors, but the sentences are just too simple. But her pronunciation is quite good. So let's have a look at some of the mistakes that this candidate made. Okay, so I already mentioned slow speech in terms of fluency and coherence. There were a lot of pauses, especially before she used more complex vocabulary, and a lot of her answers were not really well extended. And then in terms of vocabulary, there was some inappropriate use. And she had some problems with some prepositions that were missing. I mentioned the MRT already. And sometimes some verbs are missing. She had problems with word order when we get to grammar, subject-verb agreement, and tenses. Tenses was also quite a big deal in her part 2 response. Now, in terms of pronunciation, she did use stress and intonation at times, but sometimes she did use the wrong word stress. Like, for example, painkiller instead of painkiller. And she had some problems with individual sounds. But actually her pronunciation was her best feature. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and next we'll be looking at a candidate who got a possible band 6 score.